The aroma of fear was a familiar companion, a scent that clung to my skin like a second self, primal, undeniable, impossible to scrub away. I had learned to detect its metallic edge on the air when others felt it, but to feel it seeping from my own body was a different, more visceral terror. "The Alpha King wishes to see you," he said. 7 words that demolished the fragile invisibility I had spent years constructing, 7 words that sent a shard of ice through my heart as I stood motionless among the herbs I'd been sorting in the pack's communal kitchen. 7 words spoken by Nicholas, the Alpha's third in command, his face a stoic mask, but his eyes holding a flicker of what might have been sympathy. The kitchen, usually a haven of warmth and chatter, fell into a profound silence. Every eye turned to me. Elara, the human girl who dwelt among wolves, the girl with pale blonde hair who was tolerated but never truly a part of them, the girl who belonged nowhere. "Why?" I managed, my voice a ghost of a sound. My fingers tightened around the small silver charm at my neck, my mother's last gift. "Be brave, even when fear is all you feel," she had told me. The charm had become my anchor, my silent shield against a world that was often too cold. Nicholas's jaw clenched. "It is not my place to question the Alpha King's orders, and it is most certainly not yours." The kitchen remained unnervingly still. No one moved to intervene, to question why the most formidable werewolf in the Northern Territories would summon a humble human kitchen hand. But I saw the speculation in their eyes, and the relief that it was not them. "Now, Elara," Nicholas's voice softened almost imperceptibly. "Do not make this more difficult than it must be." I set down the bundle of dried thyme with shaking hands and wiped my palms on my plain woolen dress. The dress, chosen specifically for its ability to help me fade into the background. "Did I do something wrong?" I asked, hating the tremor in my voice. A harsh laugh came from Myra, the head cook, who had always made her disdain for me clear. "Oh, you've done something. Humans always do." I flinched. For 3 years I had toiled in this kitchen, arriving before dawn and leaving after dusk, taking on the tasks no one else wanted. 3 years of living in the shadows, grateful for the mere privilege of existence when so many humans had been lost in the Great War. And now this, a summons from the Alpha King himself, King Valerius, the most feared wolf in the northern lands. A leader who had seized his throne through bloodshed and cunning, who was said to have executed his own kin for betrayal without a second thought. What could he possibly want with me? Nicholas gestured toward the door. "The Alpha King does not appreciate being kept waiting." I swallowed hard and followed him out, keenly aware of the whispers that erupted in our wake. The corridor seemed to stretch on forever, its stone walls pressing in on me. Guards fell into step around us, 4 of them, their ceremonial armor glinting in the torchlight, an excessive escort for one small, frightened human. "Nicholas," I ventured, my voice barely a whisper, "please tell me what this is about. I have done nothing to warrant this attention." He continued walking, his pace unwavering. "Perhaps that is the issue," he said, his words cryptic. We ascended the grand staircase to the upper echelons of the pack-house, a place I had never been allowed to enter. With each level, the decor grew more lavish, more imposing. The scent of power was everywhere, an ancient power forged through centuries of dominance. My heart hammered against my ribs, a desperate drumbeat of "don't notice me, don't see me." But it was too late. Whatever shield of anonymity I had built had been shattered. We arrived at a pair of ornate double doors, guarded by wolves whose stillness was a testament to their lethal training. They acknowledged Nicholas with slight nods, their eyes raking over me with cold appraisal. One of them smirked, and I heard him inhale, no doubt savoring the scent of my fear. "A human in the throne room?" he muttered. "This promises to be entertaining." The door swung open, and I was gently but firmly nudged forward. The throne room was a vast, imposing chamber, its high windows casting long shadows across the polished marble floor. High-ranking werewolves lined the walls, their fine attire a clear marker of their status. And at the far end, on a throne carved from a single massive oak, sat the Alpha King. Even at a distance his presence was overwhelming. He wore no crown, their power was more primal than that. "Move," Nicholas whispered, giving me a slight push. My legs felt like lead as I began the long walk. The guards flanked me, their synchronized footsteps a rhythmic counterpoint to my racing thoughts. Every eye was on me. What had I done? I kept my gaze fixed on the floor, focusing on the simple act of placing one foot in front of the other. "Halt!" a voice commanded when I was still several paces from the throne. I froze. "Look at me, human." The Alpha King's voice was not what I had expected. It was smooth, controlled, like the surface of a deep, dark lake, its very calmness a threat. Slowly I raised my eyes. King Valerius was younger than I had imagined, perhaps in his early 30s. His eyes were a startling amber, almost gold, wolf eyes that were both watchful and intelligent. His features were sharply defined as if carved from granite. He wore a simple black tunic, his only adornment a silver chain with the royal seal. But it was his stillness that was most unnerving, an absolute focus, as if I were an enigma he was determined to unravel. "Your name," he said, the words a demand, not a question. "Ilara, your Majesty." My voice was barely a whisper. "Louder." I swallowed. "Ilara, your Majesty." "And how long have you resided among my wolves, Ilara?" 3 years, your Majesty." He tilted his head, his gaze unblinking. 3 years, toiling in the kitchens, sleeping in the servants' quarters, speaking only when addressed, making yourself invisible. The way he said it sounded like an accusation. "Yes, your Majesty." "And before that?" The question struck me like a physical blow. Before I had staggered to the edge of wolf territory, half dead, fleeing horrors I refused to even name in my own mind. "I was a traveler, your Majesty. After the Great War, there was nowhere for someone like me." A murmur went through the court. The war had shattered human civilization, leaving the survivors scattered and vulnerable. King Valerius leaned forward. "Someone like you," he repeated thoughtfully. "And what precisely are you, Ilara?" Confusion washed over me. "I am human, your Majesty." "Are you?" The question hung in the air, deceptively light, yet heavy with meaning. My heart faltered. "Yes," I whispered, a sudden doubt blooming within me. "What else could I be?" He studied me for another long moment, then rose from his throne. A collective gasp swept the room as he descended the 3 steps and approached me. Up close he was even more formidable, his presence seeming to suck the very air from around us. I fought the urge to retreat. Never show fear to a predator. 3 deaths in the last month, he said, circling me slowly. 3 wolves, their throats torn out. No scent, no witnesses, no one claiming responsibility. Ice filled my veins. Was I being accused of murder? I do not understand, I stammered. What does this have to do with me? He stopped directly in front of me, so close I could feel the unnatural warmth radiating from him. "The first death was in the kitchen storeroom," he said. "The second near the servants' quarters. The third in the herb garden, all places where you spend your time, Ilara." A wave of horror washed over me. "You think I—" The words died in my throat. "Your Majesty, I could never—" "What you could or could not do is yet to be determined." His voice was dangerously soft. "But you were nearby each time, and yet you saw nothing, heard nothing, know nothing, because there was nothing to know." The words burst out of me, louder than I intended. A low growl rumbled through the chamber, not from the king, but from the assembled wolves. King Valerius silenced them with a minute gesture. His eyes never left mine, searching, as if he could will the truth from me. 3 years you have lived among us, he said. 3 years we have given you shelter, food, and protection, and in return you have given us— What? I opened my mouth, but no words came. What had I given them? My labor, my obedience. Was that enough to earn my existence? "Take her to the holding cells," he commanded abruptly, turning away. "We will resume this discussion after she has had time to contemplate her allegiances." "No." The cry was torn from my throat. "Please, your Majesty, I have done nothing wrong. I know nothing of these murders." But he was already ascending the steps to his throne, his broad back a wall between us. Hands gripped my arms with implacable strength. As the guards began to lead me away, a spark of something long dormant ignited within me. Defiance. "I have been loyal," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I have been grateful. I have been invisible because that is what you all wanted, a human who knew her place, but I did not kill anyone." The Alpha King paused, his hand on the arm of his throne. Without turning, he spoke, his voice carrying easily across the silent room. "We shall see what you are, Elara, and of what you are capable. Tomorrow." As the guards dragged me away, I clutched my mother's charm, its familiar edges a small comfort. "Always be brave, even when you are terrified." Tomorrow it seemed I would need all the courage I could muster. The holding cell was not a dank dungeon, but a Spartan chamber with stone walls, a narrow bed, and a high, small window. A prison disguised as a guest room, much like my life among the wolves. Night had fallen, and a sliver of moonlight lay across the floor. I sat on the bed, my mother's charm clutched in my hand. 3 years of careful invisibility, gone. 3 years of survival, now in jeopardy. The Alpha King's eyes haunted me, their amber depths seeming to see through my carefully constructed facade. "Are you?" he had asked when I claimed to be human. The question echoed in my mind, stirring doubts I had long suppressed. Of course I was human. What else could I be? A soft knock at the door was followed by the entry of a female wolf I recognized as Lyra, one of the king's advisors. She had always treated me with a distant kindness. She carried a tray with bread, cheese, and a steaming mug of chamomile tea. "You should eat," she said, setting the tray down. I remained on the bed. Am I to be fattened for my execution? A flicker of surprise crossed her face. "Is that what you believe is happening?" 3 dead wolves, a convenient human scapegoat. What else am I to believe? Lyra studied me, her head tilted. She was older, with silver in her auburn hair. "If King Valerius wanted you dead, Elara, you would be dead." She gestured to the food. "Eat, you will need your strength." "For what?" I asked, reaching for the bread despite myself. "Questions," she replied. "Many questions." "I have already told the truth. I know nothing." "Perhaps," she said, moving to the window. "But you know other things, things you have kept hidden." My hand froze. "What do you mean?" 3 years you have lived here, Elara. 3 years among creatures who can hear a lie in a heartbeat, who can smell fear and secrets." She turned back to me. "Did you truly believe no one noticed?" A chill went through me. "Noticed what?" "Your nightmares, for one. The entire servants' wing knows you wake screaming, though you have learned to muffle the sound. And then there is the matter of your scent." My appetite vanished. "My scent?" "Humans have a particular scent, not unpleasant, just distinct. Yours has always been muted, as if something is masking your true nature." My mouth went dry. "I am just a human trying to survive." "Perhaps," she said again, the word heavy with doubt. "But survival requires adaptation, and you have adapted almost too well. 3 years, and not a single wolf has threatened you, challenged you, or tried to claim you." The implication was clear. Human women in wolf territories were often targets. I had always attributed my safety to my deliberate unobtrusiveness. "I have been fortunate," I whispered. Lyra's smile held no warmth. "There is no such thing as fortune in a wolf pack, Elara. There is only strength and strategy." She moved to the door. "Rest. Tomorrow will test both." The door closed with a soft click, followed by the ominous sound of a key turning in the lock. I stared at the food, my mind racing. Was it drugged? But if they wanted me dead, there were easier ways. I forced myself to eat, my thoughts turning to memories I had spent 3 years suppressing. The smell of smoke, the sound of screams. My mother's face in the firelight. "Run, Elara, do not look back. Never tell them what you are." I set down my mug, my hands trembling. "Never tell them what you are." But what was I? Just human. A survivor, wasn't I? Sleep was a series of fragmented nightmares. I woke with a gasp to the gray light of dawn. Before I could collect myself, the door opened and 2 female guards entered. "You are to bathe and change," one said, gesturing to a small adjoining room. I wanted to ask questions, but their closed expressions told me it would be useless. I obeyed. The bathing chamber was an unexpected luxury. When I returned, a new dress was laid out on the bed, not the plain gray of a servant, but a soft blue that matched my eyes. "Put it on," one of the guards instructed. The dress fit perfectly, another unsettling detail. One of the guards began to brush my hair, a gentle treatment that felt alien. "Why are you doing this?" I finally asked. "The Alpha King's orders." "But why would he care how I look?" "It is not my place to question his commands." The echo of Nicholas's words sent a shiver through me. I closed my eyes, my fingers finding the comfort of my mother's charm. When the guards led me from the room, I walked with my head held high, though my heart pounded with fear. We climbed higher into the pack house, into the private domains of the elite. We stopped before a set of doors carved with a forest scene. A knock and a deep voice bade us enter. The room was a study, its walls lined with books, a fire crackling in the hearth. The Alpha King stood with his back to us, gazing out a window. "Leave us," he said without turning. The guards withdrew, the soft thud of the door sealing me in. He remained at the window for several long moments. When he finally turned, his amber eyes swept over me, taking in the blue dress, the loose hair, the silver charm. A fleeting expression crossed his face, too quick to decipher. "Do you know why wolves are successful predators, Elara?" he asked, his voice deceptively mild. The question surprised me. "Because they are strong?" "Partially," he said, moving to a sideboard and pouring 2 glasses of water. "But there are stronger creatures. Wolves succeed because they observe, they learn patterns. They understand weakness and strength, they are patient." He offered me a glass. "Is that why I am here?" I asked, taking the glass. "Because you have been observing me for 3 years." A hint of a smile touched his lips. "You assume a great deal of importance. You summoned me before your court, accused me of murder, imprisoned me, and now—" I gestured to my new attire. "I believe I am entitled to assume something of importance is happening." He raised an eyebrow, but instead of anger, I saw a flash of approval in his eyes. "So the mouse has teeth." He gestured to a chair. "Sit." I perched on its edge. He took the chair opposite. "The night you came to our borders," he said, "you were half dead. You begged for sanctuary, offering to work in exchange. Do you recall what you said?" I swallowed. "I said I would do anything asked of me, as long as I could stay." "Anything," he repeated, "a dangerous promise for a lone human." "I had nothing left to lose," I whispered. His eyes darkened. "Everyone has something to lose, Elara." He rose and crossed to a desk where a folder lay open. 3 years ago I granted you sanctuary because my instinct told me you were more than you seemed." He lifted a paper. "Since then I have had you watched." A cold dread filled me. "Watched?" "Not constantly. Reports were made on your activities, your habits, your anomalies." He looked up. "You never leave the pack-house grounds. You avoid conflict. You flinch at loud noises. You sleep with a knife under your pillow. You never speak of your past." His eyes narrowed. "And you age with uncommon slowness for a human." The unspoken accusation hung in the air. "I do not understand what you are implying," I said, though a terrible suspicion was taking root. "I think you do," he said, setting the paper down. 3 wolves are dead, Elara, all in locations you frequent. All with wounds that could have been made by a blade like the one you keep hidden." "I need that knife for protection," I protested. Any human living among wolves would be terrified," he cut in, "would be desperate to find other humans, would show the signs of aging from constant stress." He took a step toward me. "But not you. You have adapted too well, as if you belong here." My heart hammered against my ribs. "I do not know what you want me to say. The truth would be a start." He closed the distance between us. "What are you, Elara? What are you hiding?" "Nothing," I insisted, my mother's voice a frantic whisper in my mind. "You are lying," he said, a simple statement of fact. "I can hear your heartbeat. I can smell your fear. Not the fear of a false accusation, but the fear of discovery." He leaned down, his face inches from mine. 3 wolves are dead. "And I believe you know who killed them." "I do not," I whispered, the denial sounding hollow even to me, his eyes locked with mine. "Then prove it. Submit to the blood trial." Horror washed through me. The blood trial, an ancient ritual where the accused's blood was mixed with a royal's. It would reveal truth, innocence, or guilt. But it would also reveal— "No," I breathed. "I cannot." "Cannot?" he pressed. "Or will not? What would the blood trial show, Elara? What secrets are in your blood?" I stood abruptly. "I did not kill anyone. I swear on my mother's grave." Then you have nothing to fear from the trial." His voice was unyielding. "Please," I begged, desperation making me bold. "There must be another way." He studied me for a long moment. "Perhaps there is," he said at last, "but it will require your complete cooperation, your absolute honesty." "Anything," I said without thinking. "Anything but the blood trial." A slow smile spread across his face, transforming his stern features. "You should be more careful with that word, Ilara. Anything is a dangerous promise." He returned to the desk and closed the folder. "You will remain here in my personal quarters. You will go nowhere without an escort. You will answer every question I ask truthfully." He fixed me with a penetrating gaze. "And you will help me find the real killer." "But how can I help? I know nothing." "You know more than you let on," he interrupted. "Even to yourself." He moved to the door. "Rest. We begin tomorrow." He paused. "One more thing, Ilara. Whatever you are hiding, I will find it. I am patient, but my patience is not infinite." The door closed, leaving me alone in the opulent room. A prisoner, an ally, a mystery. My fingers found my mother's charm, its familiar weight both a comfort and a burden. Never tell them what you are. But what if I no longer had a choice? That night I dreamed of fire, of smoke and screams, of my mother's face in the flames, pressing the silver charm into my hand. "Run, Ilara. Never tell them what you are." I woke gasping, tangled in fine linen sheets. The memory of the Alpha King's study, the accusation, the ultimatum, came rushing back. I was in a small but luxurious room adjoining his study. A beautiful cage. A soft knock at the door, and a young female wolf entered with a tray. "The Alpha King requests your presence in 1 hour," she said, her eyes downcast. "I am to help you prepare." "What is your name?" I asked. She hesitated. "Mina, miss. I am Ilara, and I do not need—" "The Alpha King was specific," she interrupted nervously. "You are to attend a council meeting." A council meeting. The highest-ranking wolves in the pack would be there, their eyes sharp, their senses keen. I forced myself to eat while Mina laid out a dress of deep blue, more formal than the one before. She helped me dress, then brushed my hair, weaving in small silver beads. "You have beautiful hair," she murmured. "Like moonlight." The innocent comment sent a chill down my spine. "The Alpha King said to leave this on," Mina added, touching the silver charm at my throat. "He said it seems important to you." I nodded, my throat tight. What was his game? When Mina was finished, she stepped back. "You look lovely," she said. Then, hesitantly, "Is it true that you know who killed those wolves?" "No," I said firmly. She studied my face. "But you know something important." Before I could reply, another harder knock came. Nicholas stood in the doorway. "The Alpha King is ready," he said to Mina. She scurried away. He looked me over. "You clean up well for a kitchen maid." "I am not—" I began, and then stopped. I was not what? A kitchen maid? A murderer? A simple human? None of those felt true anymore. Nicholas's mouth quirked. "Come." "The council awaits." He led me to a circular chamber where a round table of dark, polished wood stood. 12 wolves, 6 male, 6 female, sat around it. At the head, in a slightly larger chair, sat the Alpha King. All eyes turned to me, some curious, some hostile. "Ah, Ilara," the king said, "join us." Nicholas guided me to a chair at the king's right, a position of honor that sent a ripple of murmurs through the room. "For those who have not met," the king continued, "this is Ilara. She is assisting in our investigation." "Assisting?" a scarred male growled. "Or being investigated?" "Both, perhaps," the king replied smoothly. "Ilara was near all 3 murder sites, yet she is not a wolf. Which raises the question of how a human could overpower 3 of our strongest." "Unless she is not human," a steel-haired woman said, her voice sharp. "The blood trial would answer that." I tensed. The king noticed. "The blood trial remains an option," he said. "But I prefer to explore other avenues first." He turned to a thin wolf with glasses. "Declan, the weapon?" Declan cleared his throat. "A silver blade. Approximately 6 inches long, very sharp, wielded with great force." "Silver," the king murmured, his eyes flicking to my charm. "I do not have a silver blade," I said. "The knife I keep is steel." "So you claim," the scarred wolf Victor muttered. "Peace, Victor," the king commanded. Helena, the timing. A younger woman with calculating eyes consulted a ledger. All 3 murders occurred during the full moon. The victims were found in isolated areas, killed quickly, no signs of a struggle. Suggesting they knew their killer, the king concluded, or did not see them as a threat. The implication was clear. A quiet, obedient human was never seen as a threat. What were they doing in those locations? I asked suddenly. The kitchen storeroom, the servants' quarters, the herb garden? Those are not places high-ranking wolves frequent. The king's mouth curved in approval. An excellent question. Helena. Helena consulted her ledger. Councillor Damon was inspecting a shipment of wine. Silverthorn wine, I interjected. It arrived that day. The head cook said it was reserved for the Alpha and Council. A flicker of interest crossed the king's face. The second victim? Councillor Reed was near the servants' quarters, discussing preparations for the Alliance gathering. The Alliance gathering, I murmured. The servants have been polishing and inventorying the ceremonial silver. A tense silence fell. Silver was precious to wolves, and one of the few things that could truly harm them. And the third, the king asked quietly. Councillor Livia, in the herb garden, Helena said softly. She often walked there, I said. She said the scent of herbs helped clear her mind after a shift. What herbs were you working with that day? The king asked. I closed my eyes, picturing the garden. Moonflower, wolfsbane, silver sage. I stopped. The pattern was horribly clear. Silver. All 3 murders were connected to silver. The king's eyes locked with mine. Not just silver, he said softly. Silver connected to the royal house, royal wine, ceremonial items, sacred herbs. The implication settled over the council. These were not random killings. They were targeted attacks on the pack's leadership, on the king himself. This changes things, the steel-haired woman said, her hostility lessening. We are not looking for a rogue, but a traitor. Or an outside enemy, Declan added. The southern packs have been restless since King Valerius took the throne. If the human is innocent, Victor growled, let her submit to the blood trial. My breath caught. The trial would prove my innocence of murder, but it would expose other truths. The king rose. The blood trial is a sacred rite, not to be used lightly. For now, Ilara remains under my protection and supervision. His authority was absolute. She will continue to assist. The rest of you increase security. He gestured to me. Come, Ilara, we have matters to discuss. As we left the chamber, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. You did well, the king said. I did nothing. You observed. You made connections others missed. He studied me. You have been watching us for 3 years, haven't you? Learning our patterns, just as we have been watching you. It was a statement of fact, not an accusation. What happens now? I asked. Now, he said, we set a trap. He stopped before a simple door. These are my private chambers. You will be safer here. The room was unexpectedly austere for a king. Why are you doing this? I asked. Dressing me like this, seating me at your side, bringing me here? What do you want from me? He closed the door and leaned against it. I think you know, Ilara. I do not, I insisted. 3 years, he said, his voice low. I have watched you move through my pack house like a ghost. 3 years of reports on the human girl who never caused trouble. He pushed away from the door and moved toward me. But I saw you. I saw how you observed, how you adapted to a world that should have crushed you. He stopped before me, so close I could feel the heat from his skin. I want to know what you are, Ilara, what you are hiding, why you came to us. But most of all, he reached out, his fingers brushing my cheek. I want to know why, of all the places you could have run, you chose a wolf pack. His touch was like a flame. I should have pulled away, but I was frozen, caught in the amber intensity of his gaze. I did not choose a wolf pack, I said. I was running from something worse. A shadow crossed his face. The Great War? After, I said, turning away. When the dust settled, humans became commodities. Vampires, he said, a conclusion, not a question. I nodded, the memories of that night rising like bile. They attacked our village. They called it a harvest. My mother hid me. They took her. I ran for days. And you chose to seek sanctuary from wolves rather than risk capture by vampires. His voice held understanding. A logical choice, but not the entire truth. I turned back to him. What more do you want? Everything, he said simply. The word hung between us, heavy with meaning. I moved to the fireplace, seeking distance. The murders, I said, changing the subject. You said we are setting a trap. He allowed the deflection. The pattern is clear. The killer targets wolves connected to royal ceremonies and silver. The next full moon is in 3 days. The alliance gathering begins the day after. You are using the gathering as bait, I realized. A temptation the killer cannot resist, he confirmed. But first we must narrow the suspects. You still think it could be me? The hurt was evident in my voice. His expression softened. No, you have helped us find a pattern that exonerates you, but your proximity to the events is still significant. So I am still a suspect. You are a mystery, he corrected, and I have always been drawn to mysteries. Something in his tone made me look up. There was a warmth in his eyes that had not been there before. King Valerius, I began. Just Valerius, he said quietly. When we are alone. The intimacy of the request was startling. I cannot. You are the Alpha King, and you are the only person in my territory who looks me in the eye without fear or an agenda. A half-smile touched his lips. It is refreshing. I am afraid of you, I protested weakly. No, he stepped closer. You are afraid of what I might discover about you, not of me. He was right. Somewhere between the throne room and the council chamber, my fear of him had vanished. I was afraid of exposure, of the blood trial, of the truth, but not of the man before me. Valerius, I conceded, the name strange on my tongue. His smile widened. Better. He poured 2 glasses of wine. A small indulgence. Will the council not think it odd that you have closeted yourself with your prime suspect? Let them think what they will, he said, raising his glass. They believe I am interrogating you. In a way, I am. I sipped the wine. And what do you want to know? Everything, he repeated. Let us start with the charm. My hand flew to the silver crescent. It was my mother's. A crescent moon and a star, he observed. An unusual symbol for a human in a world where the supernatural are so closely tied to the moon. It is a family heirloom, I said, looking away. He did not press. Tell me of your nightmares. The abrupt change of subject startled me. How do you... The servants' quarters have thin walls, and wolves have excellent hearing. He gestured for me to sit. You cry out names. Plead for someone to run. They are just dreams, are they, or memories? The night the vampires came, I said instead. I saw things. It is no wonder I have nightmares. He studied me. And the names you cry, Lyra, Alaric. Ice flooded my veins. Names from another life. Friends, I said. From my village. They did not survive. It was not a complete lie. Valerius's gaze was steady. I believe you are telling me partial truths, Elara, enough to satisfy my questions without revealing what you are truly hiding. Is that not what everyone does? I countered. Reveal only what is necessary. Most people, yes, he said. But we are not most people, are we? The question hung in the air, dangerous and simple. A knock at the door saved me from answering. Nicholas entered, his expression grave. Forgive the intrusion, Your Majesty. There has been another attack. Valerius was on his feet in an instant. Who? Helena, from the council. She was inspecting the ceremonial chamber. Is she dead? I asked. Nicholas glanced at me, surprised. No, injured but alive. She fought back. Did she see her attacker? Valerius demanded. No, but she caught a scent, not wolf, not entirely human, something in between. Valerius's eyes snapped to me, sharp with suspicion. Where was the attack? The ceremonial chamber. The silver crown was stolen, the one worn by the Alpha Queen. A heavy silence fell. The theft of the crown was a direct challenge to Valerius's reign. Take me to her, Valerius ordered. He turned to me. You will come. Is that wise? Nicholas asked. Elara is safer with me than anywhere else, Valerius finished, and I want her to hear Helena's account. The walk to the infirmary was tense. Helena lay on a bed, a bandage on her head. Tell me what happened, Valerius said. I was checking the ceremonial items, she began. I felt a presence. Before I could turn, I was struck. I managed to lash out. And there was a scent. Not wolf, not human, Valerius prompted. She nodded. Something else, but similar to her somehow. I felt the weight of Valerius's gaze. They took only the crown, Helena continued. It is symbolic, I said quietly. The attacks are not about wealth. They are about challenging your authority. Valerius's head turned sharply. Explain. The first 3 victims were council members who supported your claim to the throne, I said, the pieces falling into place. The silver items are connected to royal ceremonies, and now the Queen's crown. Someone is challenging your right to rule. Helena's eyes widened. The southern packs. They never accepted a northern wolf as high alpha. Open moves would mean war, I pointed out. This way, they undermine from within. Valerius was watching me, his gaze seeming to pierce through my skin. And how would a simple kitchen maid understand pack politics so well? I listen, I said. I observe. I have had 3 years to learn how wolves think. He held my gaze a moment longer, then turned to Helena. Rest. Tell no one of this. He glanced at Nicholas. Double the guards. Check everyone. And the alliance gathering? Nicholas asked. Proceeds as planned, Valerius said grimly. Quietly let it be known that the Queen's crown will be used in the main ceremony. When the killer comes for it, we will be waiting. As we left, Valerius's hand settled at the small of my back, a gesture both protective and possessive. They are talking, I murmured. Let them, he replied. It serves our purpose. What purpose? He guided me into a quiet corridor. To draw out the killer. They have been watching you, as I have. Now they will see you growing closer to me, gaining influence, becoming... He stopped. Becoming what? I pressed. His amber eyes gleamed. A threat to their plans. You are using me as bait. Not just bait, he corrected, his voice a near whisper. An ally. If you are willing, I should have been angry. Instead, I felt a strange exhilaration. After 3 years of nothingness, I was being seen, valued, trusted. I am willing, I said. His hand moved to my arm. Good, he murmured. Because I believe we both know the killer will come for you next, and when they do, his fingers tightened, I will be waiting. The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparations. Valerius kept me close, a strategy to both protect me and provoke our enemy. To the pack, it looked as if their alpha king had become infatuated with a human girl. To me, it felt like walking a tightrope, the line between pretense and reality growing thinner with every shared glance. You are distracted, Valerius observed on the second evening. We were in his study reviewing security plans. I am confused, I admitted. By you, by why you are truly keeping me so close. A smile touched his lips. Am I not being obvious? Heat rose in my cheeks. You are the Alpha King. I am a human kitchen maid. Nothing about this is obvious. Is it not? He said, rising and perching on the edge of the table near me. From the moment you arrived, you have been a puzzle I could not solve. A human girl with the courage to look a wolf in the eye. He reached out, his finger tracing the outline of my charm. A woman with secrets in her eyes and a silver crescent at her throat. So I am an interesting diversion? No, the word was absolute. You are much more than that, Elara. I believe you have always known it. A knock interrupted us. Nicholas entered. Forgive the intrusion, Your Majesty. The advance party from the southern packs has arrived. Valerius straightened, his face becoming the impassive mask of a king. Very well, I will receive them in the throne room. He glanced at me. Ilera will accompany me. Nicholas's eyebrows rose, but he nodded. The Southern Alpha will have brought his spies, Valerius said to me after Nicholas had gone. This is our chance. What should I do? I asked. Stand at my right hand, he said. Watch, listen, use that remarkable perception of yours. And if they ask who I am? A slow, deliberate smile spread across his face. Let them wonder. Half an hour later, I stood beside Valerius in the throne room, my heart pounding. The Southern Alpha, a man named Dominic, entered with his entourage. His eyes swept the room, assessing, before settling on Valerius. Then his gaze shifted to me, surprise flickering across his features. Alpha King Valerius, he said, offering a formal bow. Alpha Dominic, Valerius acknowledged. The Northern Territories welcome you. Dominic's eyes slid to me again. "I see you have made interesting changes since my last visit." Valerius's hand came to rest at the small of my back. "Change is the nature of leadership. Those who cannot adapt do not survive long." "Indeed," Dominic replied, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Though some traditions exist for a reason." His gaze lingered on me. "I was not aware you had taken a human consort." "I am not his consort," I said, my voice clear. "I am his advisor on human affairs." Dominic's eyebrows rose. "A human advisor? How progressive." "The world has changed," Valerius said. "Those who ignore the perspectives of other species do so at their peril." "Perhaps," Dominic conceded. "I look forward to discussing such philosophies, along with more pressing matters. The recent murders in your pack, for instance." A subtle tension entered Valerius's posture. "News travels fast." "As does concern," Dominic countered. 3 council members dead. Some might question if the Northern Territories are stable under your leadership. The threat was clear. The Alliance gathering was a rare opportunity for a vote of no confidence. "Your concern is noted," Valerius said mildly, "but unnecessary. The situation is well in hand." His fingers pressed against my back, drawing me closer. "In fact, we have made significant progress in identifying the culprit." A flicker of something crossed Dominic's face. Discomfort? It was gone too quickly to read. "I am relieved to hear it," he said. "Now you must be weary. Nicholas will show you to your quarters." As he straightened from his bow, his eyes met mine one last time, searching. I held his gaze, revealing nothing. After they had gone, Valerius remained by the throne, his expression thoughtful. "You noticed it," he said. "His reaction when you mentioned progress in the investigation," I replied. "He was surprised, concerned." "Yes," Valerius said grimly. "And his early arrival is convenient for someone wanting to observe our security." "You think he is behind the murders?" "Not directly. Dominic is too cautious, but he may have sanctioned them and be sheltering the killer." He turned to me. "What did you make of his reaction to you?" "Confusion, calculation, and recognition, almost." Valerius's eyes sharpened. "Recognition? Have you met him before?" "No, but it was as if I reminded him of someone." Valerius was silent for a long moment. "The full moon is tomorrow night," he said at last. "If our killer follows their pattern, they will strike then." "I am not safe," I realized. "No," Valerius agreed, his voice softening. "You are not. But I have no intention of letting you out of my sight." The intensity in his eyes made my breath catch. This was no longer just strategy. "And when the full moon rises?" I asked. "When you change." A shadow crossed his face. "That complicates things." He would run with his pack, leaving me alone, vulnerable. "Unless," he said slowly, his gaze dropping to my charm, "you were to join us." My blood ran cold. "What?" "Not as you are now," he clarified, his voice a whisper, "but as what you truly are, Ilara. What you have been hiding all along." The world tilted. He knew. "I do not know what you mean," I whispered, the denial instinctive. Valerius stepped closer, his hand cupping my face. "Do you not? 3 years you have lived here without aging as a human should. 3 years of nightmares, calling out names from the old bloodlines. 3 years wearing a silver crescent moon, the ancient symbol of those who walk between worlds." His thumb traced my cheekbone. "You are not human, Ilara, not entirely. You are something far rarer. You are half wolf, half human, a hybrid." The truth hung between us, the secret I had guarded with my life. My mother's warning echoed in my mind, but he had seen through me. "Tomorrow night," he continued, "when the moon rises, you could choose to stop hiding, to stand with us, with me, as you truly are." His forehead pressed against mine. "You could finally be free, Alara." Free. The word was both a promise and a threat. Freedom to be myself, but also freedom to be a target. "I cannot," I whispered, though every fiber of my being yearned to say yes. Valerius's thumb traced my lower lip. "You can," he murmured, "and when you do, we will catch our killer. Together. Together." Another dangerous promise, but as his lips brushed mine, a touch as light as a sigh, I knew that invisibility was no longer an option. The choice was stark: embrace what I was and stand with him, or run again, forever hiding. And I was so very tired of running. Nan 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 nan.